everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Industrial Revolution, Inventors and Inventions. I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying being in my home in my fuzzy socks and chewing my gum. Since we're talking about the Industrial Revolution, let's talk about gum just a minute. Of course, people have been chewing gum for thousands of years in different forms. Here in the United States, the first person to actually make gum that could be sold was a guy named John Curtis, 1840s, Industrial Revolution time. He actually took spruce sap and made a mint gum out of it. He's also the first person to he created the first gum factory in the United States, and it was in the state of Maine. If you want to learn more interesting facts about chewing gum in the United States, I posted a cool article from the History Channel on my website, and it's something your parents might enjoy reading and sharing with you. Okay, now on to the inventions you really want to know about. We left off with the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell. Your sheet gives a little bit of information about when the telephone was invented. I'm going to tell you a few interesting facts behind it. Alexander Graham Bell was actually married to a woman who was deaf, and his mother was deaf. He spent most of his life in the study of audiology, sound, and devices that could create sound. So he and Mr. Watson, his associate, were able to create the first telephone. There were lots of other scientists at the time who were trying to do the same thing, find a way to send voice messages over a wire electronically. So as soon as Alexander Graham Bell had his, he ran to the patent office to get a patent on it. Well, there were several other people in line to get a patent as well. And in the years that followed, they went on to sue Alexander Graham Bell, saying, "We had this first. We created this first." They all lost their lawsuits, but it brings into question, who really did invent the telephone? There were lots of people challenging each other to make this one invention. Now, Alexander Graham Bell, the first words he spoke over the phone were, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want you." Just an interesting fact. Another one, the first phone book was actually printed in 1878, and it was only one page long. Or here's another one. Mark Twain was one of the first people in the United States to have a telephone in his home. Now, if you remember, when we talked about telephones in the early part of the 20th century, late 19th century, we talked about how they were operated by switchboard operators. The operator, you call the operator, they took the plug from your plug, you tell them who you want to talk to, and they go plug it in that person's phone line. So they actually had an operator to do that for you. Of course, we don't use that today. In 1922, when Bell died, all the telephones were silent for 1 whole minute. So there are a few interesting facts about Alexander Graham Bell and the invention of the telephone. The last invention in your packet, I believe, was on Charles Goodyear. You've probably heard of Goodyear tires. He did not start the company Goodyear Tires. The person who started the company named it after him in honor of him well after his death. What Goodyear did was make the tires better. See, for years, people had used wooden tires or metal tires. A lot of your wagons had wood tires. First, bicycles. If you look back in the 1800s at bicycles, they have wooden tires. That made for a rough ride. Some people started playing with rubber and how rubber could be used to make tires. The first tires that used rubber, they realized the rubber itself wasn't strong enough. It needed something else. So they used zinc white oxide and mixed it with the melted rubber. And when it hardened, it made the rubber harder, more durable. It also made the tires white. And I don't know about you, but I don't like white tires. They get dirty way too easy. The black tires actually came about later on. They, instead of mixing the white zinc oxide, they mixed black carbon with the rubber. And so that made the tires black. The guy who came up with black carbon, same guy who invented Crayola crayons. True story. What Charles Goodyear did was he realized that if you burned rubber, it's called vulcanization. If you burn rubber and let it cool, it actually is much, much stronger. So he patented a system for heating rubber in such a way that it cooled and hardened and formed the durable rubber that we see on tires. At the same time, Thomas Hancock also got a patent for vulcanized rubber. Both men are listed. If you look at who invented the tire or who discovered vulcanization, you'll find both names, Charles Goodyear, Thomas Hancock. Those are just a few interesting facts. Oh, I almost forgot one. The largest wheel in the world right now is in Allen Park, Michigan. It's 80 feet tall and it weighs 12 tons. There you go. Another interesting fact about the wheel. All right. The rest of your notes you can find on your booklet or online. So I'm going to leave the rest of your work to you. I will tell you there are other interesting inventions that you can look up if you so choose. That all came about during the 1800s, during the Industrial Revolution. We have the stapler, was invented in 1841. Dynamite was invented in 1866. Steel and traffic lights were both invented in 1868. Zippers were invented in 1893. You have to figure, how did they zip their coats up before then? 1898, we had roller coasters. Roller coasters is a fun one to look into. So you can have some fun researching these. Also, a few other resources I've discovered. The Smithsonian, if you go to the Smithsonian Kids, Google that. The Smithsonian Institute has put on several virtual field trips that I've just kind of looked at a little bit, and they look like they're a lot of fun. So if you want to take a virtual field trip, learning about animals and inventions and things like that, you can have access to that on the Smithsonian website. The Cincinnati Zoo and the San Diego Zoo are also putting some virtual field trips online if you want to get ahead of the game in science, where we're going to start talking about animals. All right, last bit of business is quarantainment. I want you to email me or message me a picture of you and something you have made over this week. I learned how to paint a deer. It was easy. You may have learned how to make cookies or make homemade lemonade, or maybe you made your mom happy because you washed your dishes and made your bed. Whatever it is, go ahead and send me a quick picture of it, and I'll post any good ones I can on PhotoCircle. I hope you have a great evening, and until my next video, have fun.